indigents on the platform who will be able to speak to this and see how far the governor has been able to speak to his desire to do these things. Okay. Also, Kaduna tops ICANN rating in 2020. The Commissioner for Finance, Mohammed Bashir Saidu, made this known at the military briefing that took place at Sir Kashim Ibrahim House. Okay, yeah. So we're asking the governor also, what does this portend for Kaduna? Let's look again at another one very quickly. Where's the next? Nigeria is at war. Our Nobel laureate, Professor Wale Soyinka, now well in his 80s and still concerned about the state of security in Nigeria, is saying that Nigeria is at war and is calling on the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari to seek help, saying that the killing of these students in Greenfield University is totally unacceptable, indication that the country is at war. Sokapu, gunmen kidnap a village head, wife others in southern Kaduna. We're going to be asking our governor, how did this happen? What happened? And what is the government doing about the various kidnaps, not just in Kaduna, but all over Nigeria, and also the various killings that have been reported in southern Kaduna? NLC to embark on a 5-day strike and protests in Kaduna over the mass sack. Okay, recently, I think the government announced that it was sacking a few, quite a lot of people in the Kaduna civil service, and that dwindling finances and high wage bill of the state were responsible for the sacking of the workers on its payroll. So we're also going to be interrogating our beloved governor to ask how did it come about, and what is he planning to do, and what are the benefits or otherwise to the state and perhaps our nation in this issue. The issue of an over-bloated wage force, especially in the civil service, have been pervading everybody in Nigeria, both at the federal and state level. Now Kaduna State has bailed the cat or taken the charge or running the risk of a great protest in the state. And is this a good or a not so good? We believe our governor also to this issue. CAN chairman is Kaduna State governor on banditry and kidnapping. The chairman of CAN in Kaduna State, Reverend Joseph Hayab, has challenged the state governor, Nasir El-Rufai, to send security forces after the bandits in order to rescue kidnapped victims in their camps across the state. Bandits killed 8 people, abducted 19 female church members, and 6 others in Kaduna. To be interesting to find out what our governor is about this and what is going to be the outcome, especially the present killing of these people and the abduction of people. Also, there's this issue of religion in Kaduna State, this contest, these clashes between Christians and Muslims, this challenge of Islamization all over the place, Kaduna State, but also in Nigeria. And these are issues and topics that we would like the governor to speak on. Also, the issue of Fulani herdsmen and the raging question as to what really is happening. Even the Fulanization of our nation are issues that we will be. What What's the next slide, please? Yes, Kaduna parents of 29 above with release. Sheikh Gumi shoot on is heeding the rescue of abducted Kaduna students. Two comments on this issue of students, Sheikh, and also by the government negotiate of bandits. Again, interrogate to ask and to find out exactly what the thinking is. And then, okay, we've spoken about that. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay, UNIFPA commends Kaduna Governor on women empowerment. United Nations Population Fund, UNIFPA, has commended Governor Nasir commitment towards women empowerment into its deliberate efforts in making women occupy 49% of the appointed positions in Kaduna State. The governor is committed to health for all, says the governor, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe. So again, issues that we are going to interrogate. Okay. Governor El-Rufai, governor, powerless, frustrated. El-Rufai of Kaduna State said and his colleagues across the 36 states of the Federation are frustrated about the state of insecurity in Nigeria. Okay, this is a response to the Nigerian Air Force Chief's reaction to the issue of bandits and kidnappers. So let us see again what our governor will be talking about on this platform in this regard. Next slide, please. Attacks in southern Kaduna, we have mentioned that, is a great cause of concern for us all over Nigeria. There have been conflicting reports about the issues in southern Kaduna and the handling of Governor El-Rufai's matters in those areas. We would like him to come and then also clarify on those issues, and we would like to get his thinking on those various issues. Next slide. Okay, so the issue of restructuring. Governor El-Rufai led a committee that gave a report on true federalism. I have studied bits and pieces of this report. The outcomes are clear. The recommendations are there. The advice has been given. Is the report of the APC Committee on True Federalism. We will be also asking the governor about this report, what happened to it, the issue of restructuring, and so on and so forth in Nigeria. What does it really mean? And this clamor, especially from the Southwest and some other parts of Nigeria, for restructuring, and why the present administration does not seem to have said anything categorical on this very germane issue, while some people said that it was part of their campaign promises when they were seeking for elective office. And then we want to look at the Southern Kaduna's People's Union. They described the recent community peace building initiatives Nigeria's historically tense Kaduna Southern as cosmetic, claiming that they are elite focused. So Southern Kaduna People's Peace Union, SOCAPU, they feel that the recent peace building initiatives are cosmetic. Okay, so we want to also interrogate that, look at it, and ask the governor of his comments on this and his advice to the people. These are the things that we need to talk about, and we'll be asking Governor El-Rufai to join us very soon on this platform. He's away on national duty right now, and he has promised that in the next few minutes, he will be here on this platform to speak to these issues. And we will be able to take as many questions as we can in the time that we have been allotted. I'm also going to be requesting of him through his people that I'm sure are listening on the platform, whether we can make this a two-part series so that we can try our best to exhaust as many of the issues that we want to discuss with him and a few of our other leaders of thought all across Nigeria. It is part of the engagement that I promised about 2-3 weeks ago at my 60th birthday broadcast, that we said, we know the leaders in Nigeria, we know the gatekeepers in Nigeria. We will do our best to try and engage each person one-on-one and see how best we can sort out the issue of leadership and the direction in which our state and economy is going. Filling in for our governor in the next 5-10 minutes before he joins is Mr. Olumuyiwa Adekeye, Special Advisor on Media and Communications. I don't know if Mr. Muyiwa Adekeye has any words to say and anything to say while we're waiting for Governor Nasir El-Rufai. Mr. Adekeye, please, you can unmute yourself and make a few opening remarks. Please unmute Mr. Adekeye.
Okay.
Mr. Adekeye, you're unmuted.
Good evening, Pastor. Good evening, all participants in this webinar. I thank you for the invitation to speak. I commend this initiative to engage and ask questions. We are in a very challenging moment. It's tough. There are stresses and trauma caused by both the reality of insecurity that citizens have experienced directly, and also the trauma felt not only by the direct victims, but also others who know that when something bad is happening, you do not wait until you feel it directly before you can have both empathy for victims and concern that these sad events should stop. So amidst all these serious challenges, we need to be able to seek facts as much as possible to ensure that the things we say are verified and accurate. I would not proceed without once again expressing our deepest condolence to our citizens in captivity, the families of our victims, of our citizens who have lost their loved one in the recent upsurge of violent attacks on our communities, and the kidnapping of our young people in 2 tertiary institutions. It is a really, really sad and trying moment. It's a moment that is calling whether we would stand firm to assure protection of the state to our citizens, to affirm the primacy of the rule of law, or whether we would, amidst all these stresses and tensions, okay, surrender to the whims of the criminals. There are no easy public policy choices in this moment, but we have said, and going to repeat, that we know that in the heat of all the suffering, in the heat of all the pain, one thing that is primary is to ensure that we can protect our communities and work, support, and resource the federal security agencies posted in our state to do a much better job, okay, than is happening currently. As a subnational, we have no direct control of any security agency, but we have been active cheerleaders, supporting and prodding, resourcing, providing logistics. Okay, we created a specific Ministry of Internal Security to be able to foster coordination amongst all the agencies that are in our state. We assist with intelligence. We assist with links to communities. We have said repeatedly since 2015 that our state, like a few others in Nigeria, vast, more than 43,000 square kilometers, is under-policed. We do not have enough policemen on the ground. And clearly, the military that has also done a serious job, commendable job so far, is limited by its other engagements across the country. So between the police and the military, there are not enough boots on the ground. Okay, and we continue these engagements. The assertion of the prerogatives of the state in the midst of sustained challenges by non-state actors is something that we believe that all Nigerians can commit to supporting, because every inch that is given to criminals merely serves to encourage more people, okay, to get into criminality, and to send an uncomfortable signal to those who are law-abiding that our country rewards criminality. I started out by drawing our attention to the need for accuracy and verification. In the last 1 week, the airwaves and social media in Nigeria, for instance, are focused on the attempt to better support our tertiary institutions, Kaduna State government-owned tertiary institutions. A decision was taken to increase tuition fees in the Kaduna State University to a basic 150,000 per annum per session. The differentials for each course between the sciences, engineering, and medicine are yet to be decided. The differentials between residents of Kaduna State and non-residents are yet to be decided. Yet, editorial comments have been written, news columns have been written, citing figures that people got from social media. Okay, the university has come out to say, no, we have not fixed the specifics for all these other courses. The Ministry of Education has clarified, but people are going with what they wish to believe. In this state, this government is building a new permanent campus for the Kaduna State University. The capital expenditure devoted to CASU in 2020 was just a few thousands short of 10 billion. In the current terms, it cost the Kaduna State government almost 5 billion to maintain CASU alone last year. The fees charged by the various programs of CASU generated about 299 billion. This government has since 2015 guaranteed free and compulsory basic education. First 12 years of school, primary, secondary, free in all public schools in Kaduna State. This government established a revamped scholarship and loans board, sending Kaduna State, qualified Kaduna State youth on grounds of merit and need to top universities in the world. Since 2019, we have had 2 billion sitting in a bank account for the loans scheme, because it is clear to us that the volume of investment required to create a world-class university cannot be driven by the amounts that are paid, and that we should encourage our youth to take the loans window. Since 2019, when we put this money down, only about 18 persons have accessed the loans window. But every year, we continue to provide scholarship for young people to go out. This state has been in the news for all sorts of reasons, from the good to the bad. Amidst all the problems that we have encountered since 2015, we created a working environment that independent investors came in to help us create jobs. This is a state of about 10 million persons. The government, its arms, its hospitals, its schools, political appointees, civil servants, everybody that works for the government in Kaduna State is less than 100,000 persons. Therefore, we must encourage the private sector because it has greater capacity to create jobs. Our efforts in this regard ensured that the World Bank's Doing Business report ranked Kaduna State as the easiest place to do business in its most recent survey of the business environment across all the subnationals in Nigeria. In pledged funds and actual investments, okay, more than $2 billion has come in. We have serious challenges regarding security, but that's not our only story. We have stories of empowering women and youth. In a 14-member cabinet, 6 of our commissioners are women. We have an elected female deputy governor. We have a female head of service. Our investment promotion agency, headed by a woman. Our Kaduna Power Supply Company, headed by a woman. We have young people trusted with serious responsibilities, okay? From the art of government, from the young man that is chief of staff, to those running our markets company. Okay. There are several layers to our story. Even security, as bad as it is, we chose deliberately to be transparent about the severity of the challenges. In March, we presented the 2020 Security Incidents Report for the state, which categorized all the incidents of major crime, from cattle rustling to kidnapping, okay, to killings by criminals. Segmented this data across the 3 senatorial districts of Kaduna State. And the data released in March showed clearly that, yes, security is a statewide problem, but the incidence of violent crime by these bandits is most severe in Kaduna Central, 7 local governments, mainly Beningwari, Giwa, Chikun, and Igabi. The second most impacted Central District is Kaduna North Central District. And then the Kaduna South Central District, okay, is the third impacted. We are putting out this data because we believe that amidst all these tensions, citizens that are informed about the nature of the crimes that are being perpetrated in the state, the locations, are in a position to support the serious measures that are needed to stop these crimes, and are also in a better position to ensure that these criminals, when they wreak havoc in our communities, don't get the extra pleasure of setting the victims against each other. It has happened all too frequently in many communities that after criminals have devastated the communities, especially in places that are diverse, okay, the victims turn on each other. The pain led by the criminals is compounded by distrust. We have many layers to our story. Kaduna State government under Mallam Nasir El-Rufai is undertaking the most comprehensive urban renewal program in the history of Kaduna State, including since the founding of our capital city in 1917 by Lord Lugard. The evidence is all over the place. We are doing Kaduna urban renewal. We are doing Zaria urban renewal. We are doing Kafanchan urban renewal, trying to bring our 3 major cities more fully into the 21st century as places to live, work, and invest. We have been confronted recently by the reality of dwindling funds from the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC. Within the last 6 months, there have been months where after paying salaries, this government has been left with 162 million.
So how have you been able to cope with 162 million? And I'd like you to speak specifically to the issues in southern Kaduna.
Well, okay, let me start with the fiscal issue. In 2015, the government of Kaduna State contacted Mrs. Ituah to help to redesign our revenue architecture. And the product of that was the establishment of the Kaduna Internal Revenue Service, the passage of a new tax consolidation and codification law that puts in one document all the rates and levies payable in Kaduna State. These 2 measures has ensured that we have almost quadrupled IGR. From 13 billion in 2015, we now have 50 billion for 2020. These are the revenues that are being used to support the other expenses of the government after paying salaries and overheads. I can now come to, and this is being done without increasing tax rates and levies. We are widening the tax net, improving collection, and reducing waste. Let me now address the question of Southern Kaduna. In political terms, there are 23 local government areas in Kaduna State. 8 of these are in Southern Kaduna. There have been violent episodes in the history of Kaduna State in the last 40 years, beginning from Kaswamagani in 1980, when the state lost its innocence with the first recorded clash between the 2 dominant religions in the state. Okay. After Kaswamagani, we had the Kafanchan riots, who started from a tertiary institution and spread throughout the old Kaduna state. It affected my own family in traumatic fashion. We did not suffer any direct loss, okay? But my frightened mother fled Zaria on account of the fear the mob inflicted on her. 1992, we had 2 episodes of violence in Zango Kataf local government. The federal government of Nigeria, under President Babangida, initiated some prosecutions, and the Kaduna State government did the Raila Kujo Commission of Inquiry to examine the 2 incidents of violence. We've had episodes in 1996, Kafanchan, when a religious sect abducted someone allegedly for preaching in a park. And this abduction, the reaction to it led to the killings of persons. I am trying to say that it has been a contentious issue, and this government has been invested in trying to remove the root cause, pushing a law and order strategy anchored on the recognition of a common humanity and the recognition of the citizenship rights the Constitution of Nigeria has granted to everybody, every Nigerian, to live and work wherever they choose. So, as I said earlier, in June 2020, a violent clash occurred in Zango Kataf local government. The killings and counter killings dominated the headlines, and people wrote a lot of stuff. But the data for 2020, as I said earlier, the security data for 2020 showed that, yes, there are security issues all over Kaduna State. Okay, it is a sad thing to be talking about a league table of pain. I would prefer to talk only about a league table of prosperity. But when something is far from what you desire, okay, you cannot sweep it under the carpet. You must acknowledge the good, and you cannot sweep the bad under the carpet.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Adekeye. We're told that the governor is on the platform, so we won't put you anymore on the spot. We're going to ask him to take on some of these questions himself. I'd like to welcome my brother, the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai. You do know that you are my brother, don't you? And thank you for accepting to be on this platform. I know it's been a busy day for you, and I know that it's because of the love and esteem we hold each other that you've agreed to be on this platform. So my brother Nasir, I hope I can call you Nasir or Excellency.
Of course. No. You are Excellency, not me. My brother Ituah. Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and let me apologize to everyone for being so late. But I got a call at 1 p.m. Today while I was presiding over a cabinet briefing, saying that Mr. President will be meeting with security chiefs tomorrow and needed to meet with me because I represent a group of governors of states that are facing this insecurity problem. And we had some position papers and recommendations that I wanted to submit to the president before his meeting tomorrow. So I was summoned, and I was not given a private jet of the presidential fleet. So I had to hire a plane, rush to Abuja, met the president, and tried to come back before 5. I apologize. I'm here now, and I'm ready. What are your questions?
Thank you very much, Nasir. The Lord bless you, and thank God for safe journeys. I won't put you on the spot and ask you what you discussed with the president.
You can put me on the spot. You can put me on the spot anytime. Okay.
So what did you and the president discuss today, and what has he agreed to do about our security in Nigeria? Because that really is a burning issue right now.
Yeah, well, we definitely discussed security. I cannot tell you the details of what we discussed because the bandits and the insurgents also have ears, but we have a very clear, we've articulated a very clear roadmap, having experienced this problem for a number of years now. And the president has adopted it, and he's meeting with the security chiefs to try to get it going. Everyone is concerned. We are all concerned. Believe me, we're even more concerned than you, because the way things are going, it's like the country is falling apart. And those of us that are in leadership positions will be ultimately responsible if anything goes wrong. So we are very concerned. And I am confident that something will be done about it. That's all I can say.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm going to play a very quick video, some of your comments a few years ago, and then related to your recent comment that the country looks like is virtually falling apart. I am not happy, I am distressed, and I'm feeling that we really need to do something about this country right now. This is what we picked up from the archives as one of the things that you said, I think it was in 2014. And I'm sure you remember that speech. Go ahead.
The exchange rate has moved from 120 to the dollar to 240 to the dollar. That is Jonathan's record. Jobs have been destroyed. Livelihoods have been destroyed. Over 1 million people have been displaced because of incompetent and corrupt security mismanagement. Meanwhile, during this period, oil prices have been at their all-time high. Trillions have been budgeted for security, but the only thing you see are mansions in Abuja owned by ministers of defense and generals. We know these houses, we know the owners. This is the record of the Jonathan administration in the last 6 years. That's why they don't want to talk about it. So what do they talk about? They move from church to church preaching religious division. They move from town to town preaching ethnic division. They have no record to run on. They take photographs of private estates and claim that the government built the estates. They take photographs of railway bullet trains from Port Harcourt and claim that it's federal government train system. They lie for a living. Do not believe anything they say. Even when they say, good morning, check, it is probably evil. So do not be deceived. I am here before you as a father of young people like you, because I have many children. We don't count our children. We count blessings. That I care about your future. We all care about your future because we have children too. And we want you to stand up and vote for change. On that day, you get your PVCs. Don't be intimidated by anyone in uniform. Remember, remember a few weeks ago, we needed to get the help of Chad and Niger to chase Boko Haram. So don't let them scare you. They should not scare you. Go out with your permanent voter's card and vote for the party and the candidates that will secure your future. That party is the APC. That party is the APC. Those candidates are the candidates of the APC that emerged through transparent primaries, not criminal imposition. The APC is different. We are different. We represent integrity. General Buhari represents that. We represent performance. First one that there embodies performance. We represent courage and standing for what is right. Governor Amechi represents that. We represent honor. Governor Fahimi is the only politician in Nigeria's history that congratulated his opponent, even when he knew he was.
What is the state of Nigeria today? What are we going to do about it?
Ituah, you want me to respond to that? I thought you said I will see a clip and you want to ask me questions about the clip.
Did you see the clip?
I've seen the clip. I remember it. It was in Lagos, Muson Center.
We're concerned.
We're all concerned. Well, look, everything I said there, I stand by. Okay. And what inheritance we got was much worse than we thought. Okay. However, as leaders, our job is to solve problems. It's not to complain. We have to solve problems. Now, I'll be the first to admit that we have not met our own expectations for a variety of reasons. But as I said, leaders don't give excuses, they fix problems. And this is what we are trying to do. That we met and how things, for a variety of reasons, things are not as they should be. Things are falling apart, and we must, as leaders, seize the moment and solve the problem and stop complaining. Whatever has happened, but we are the leaders and we have to solve the problems. That's all I can say.
What are your thoughts, my brother, as to what we should do at this time to try and fix some of our problems, unbundle some of our challenges, and map a way forward for Nigeria?
Well, Ituah, in the last 50 years, only a handful of countries have been able to move from third world to near first world status. We have studied those countries, and there are certain things that they have done that if we want to go on that path, we need to do. Okay? I can list many of the things that I think we should do or we should be doing. Some of them are very simple. Some of them are quite complex. But if we care about our country, if we cherish our diversity and our demography, which is a very, very, very important tool in geopolitics today, then we need to do what we need to do. I had jotted a few points of what I thought Nigeria should do. I have spent the last 30 years of my life studying countries to try to understand why some have succeeded and why some have failed, right from my days in the business school. And I'm very clear in my mind about what Nigeria should be doing, about what it should do. Some of it we are doing not very well. Some we are doing pretty well. But if you like, I can go through all those things for you. Number one, I think Nigeria needs to know who are Nigerians. There are 200 million plus of us, but the government and those that govern do not know who is a Nigerian, where he lives, what he does for a living, whether he pays taxes or not, whether he can be reached if he commits an offense. So this may sound very simple, but I think the first order of business for us as a country is to have a functioning identity management system. I worked on that when I was Minister of FCT in 2007. We set up NIMSI, but it has not until recently even started performing its functions. So that's number one, because I think before you can plan for Nigerians, before you can tax them, before you can target social services to those that deserve it, you must know every Nigerian, where he is, and have his biometric profile and so on and so forth. That's one. Number two, we need to go back to our original elite consensus. In 1951, when our founding fathers were negotiating with the British for independence, they all agreed that we should have a federation with very strong regions and a relatively weak center. Okay? That changed from 1966, and we are yet to recover from the devastation of our democratic foundations in 1966. I chaired a committee of the APC on true federalism, which contains many of the recommendations that we believe would take Nigeria back to the consensus of 1951. Thirdly, insecurity is a clear and present danger to the continued existence of the Nigerian state. The federal government must do whatever it needs to do. I say the federal government here because it is the federal government that has control of the security agencies. State governors, though called chief security officers, have very little control after of the security agencies. So that must be taken as an urgent, an important priority. Okay, we have to do that. If we don't restore security to our country, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So it is very, very important that we focus on that. Our APC Committee on True Federalism made certain recommendations. I can go through some of them, but they are there for everyone to get on any website. So I will not take too much of your time doing that. Another thing that I think we must do is, and of course, to give effect to some of the suggestions and recommendations we had in our APC Committee on True Federalism, we must amend the Constitution and amend many statutes and laws. Okay. Number 4, we need to develop a national economic strategy. We used to do 5-year plans. We stopped that, rolling plans and so on. We are not planning. If you don't plan, you are likely to fail. So we need a national development plan to say there 2015, a long-term plan and then have 5-year plans for the country as well as the states, incorporating a sound industrial policy. Number 5, I think that the government at federal and state level is too big, bloated, and expensive. We need to right-size government at federal, states, and local government levels. And in my mind, we should apply a simple formula. No government should be larger than the internally generated revenue that it can generate. Let us not have bloated governments because we get federal transfers from Abuja as states, and vice versa with the federal government. Because as a country, we are not collecting enough taxes. Number 6, we need as a country to make wise and hard choices about investing our oil wealth before oil becomes irrelevant. Because very soon, oil will become irrelevant in the global energy marketplace. Number 7, we need, as a country, to abolish unaffordable subsidies, like the petroleum subsidy that we are insisting on, that last year cost us 800 billion naira. Our annual budget, our budget in 2020 for roads infrastructure was 200 billion, but the petroleum subsidy was 800 billion. We need to change that. We need to reverse that. I don't think the petroleum subsidy or the electricity subsidy is well targeted. It's not going to the right people. Number 8, we need to undertake a significant review of the machinery and operations of all departments, branches, and tiers of government for effectiveness, efficiency, and transparency. I think part of that should lead to a well-functioning, better paid, and less corrupt judiciary, a less expensive national and state assemblies with lower overheads allowances, and a lean and affordable executive arm with a fully monetized compensation system that is transparent. Number 9, we have serious physical infrastructure deficits in electricity, roads, rail, our aviation system. We have deficits all over. We have, 12 trillion in pension funds that we can use for long-term bonds for bankable projects to be subscribed by the pension fund administrators. This is not a situation in which the government is borrowing. No, bankable projects will be allowed to form project companies and issue bonds that will be subscribed by the PFAs. This is what many countries have done with their pension funds, and I don't see why we shouldn't. And finally, soft infrastructure, ICT, broadband to everyone's home, better quality higher education, skills, and affordable secondary and tertiary healthcare. We should, I think, also adopt a national consensus to stop all these conferences and seminars on many aspects of our national development, because being in government has taught me that virtually every problem we have has been studied a few times. So all our policy problems have been studied to death. I think what we need to do is just to end the analysis paralysis and focus on implementation. Now, these are my views about what I think we need to do. Those that want to say why have some of this not been done should understand that I'm a state governor. And if you brought me here to speak for the federal government or to speak for President Buhari, I cannot and will not. I'm a state governor. Come to my state and see what we are trying to do. Muyiwa has tried to explain some of the challenges we faced and how we confronted them. these national problems have to be addressed. At subnational level, we can do what we can, but that consensus, that elite consensus around our country, our constitution, our federalism, and so on and so forth, must be the responsibility of every Nigerian. So I will stop here. I have given you my thoughts, Ituah. I will be happy to take any questions.
Okay, my brother. I'm going to come and ask a few specific questions about Kaduna State. There have been a lot of comments here and there, especially on the state of security, the Southern Kaduna problem, and so on and so forth. But my questions is in two parts. First of all, that report you spoke about, it would be nice to know what exactly happened to it. I've been through it very briefly. The recommendations are very strong and very clear. Some form of restructuring, some form of economic development for Nigeria, reduction in the cost of governance, and so on and so forth. And it was a very rich committee, lots of governors, many papers from many places. I don't know what has happened to that report and what is going to happen to the report. That's on the first part. Then the second part is the state of security or challenges in our Kaduna State, and what really is the problem, and what are the ways by which we can overcome this problem.
The True Federalism Committee report was presented to the party and Mr. President in 2018. And there was a lot of debate about what to do. But because there was suspicion that elections were near and the whole thing was a political gimmick, because of the elections, I think the party decided to put it on hold until after the elections. Since then, there has been some movement. There are 2 or 3 steps that have been taken to implement that report and other reports. First, the National Assembly has set up a Constitutional Review Committee co-chaired by the Deputy Senate President and the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. They are looking at all the constitutional amendments, so they're driving that. This committee has broken into several subcommittees. One subcommittee is to look at all the constitutional amendments proposed since 1999 that did not make it, and to try to find out why. Another is to look at the 2014 constitutional conference convened by the Jonathan administration. A third subcommittee and a fourth to look at the True Federalism Committee report that we submitted. Some of the constitutional amendments have started. For instance, the amendment to the Constitution to enable states to have their own police has already passed first reading in the Senate. The bill to amend the Constitution to move minimum wage from the exclusively to the concurrent list has had first reading in the House of Representatives. So there has been some movement. And I believe that based on the decisions taken by the National Assembly leadership a couple of days ago, before the end of this year, by the grace of God, we'll have some of these constitutional amendments. So we'll try to get some of these True Federalism amendments and legislations in place, I think, before the end of the year, based on the timeline I've had. They are planning a huge town hall meeting conference sometime towards the end of May to look at the work of the subcommittee. So there is some movement on that. Your second question has to do with insecurity in Kaduna State. Well, I think Muya has tried to explain to you the genesis of insecurity in Kaduna State. Kaduna State has over 54 ethnic groups. There are about 550 different ethnic groups in Nigeria. 10% of them are in one state, in Kaduna. And Kaduna is unique among the states of the Northwest because of its diversity. If you go to Sokoto, Kano, Zamfara, Kebbi, they are fairly homogeneous states. But Kaduna is different. And because it is different, because it has a cosmopolitan mix right from the beginning, it has gone through a lot of pain and crises that have often become ethno-religious. But in my honest opinion, the problems of Kaduna started when the textiles collapsed due to the structural adjustment program. Kaduna used to be the Manchester of Nigeria, the center of textiles. We had over 12 textiles mills employing over 35,000 people. The structural adjustment program wiped out most of them. Now only 2 are operating. And the loss of jobs was the beginning of the crisis in Kaduna. I think it had roots that were economic, but over time, this has evolved into ethnic and religious crisis. Right from 1981, we had the first one in Kaswamagani, 1987 in Kafanchan, 1992 twice in Zangon Katab. It has been on and on. We've been dealing with it. We feel that we have done a good job of managing it because in the 5-6 years that we've been in office, we've had a crisis, a major one at the end of 2016, but none. And that major one affected only 3 local governments. In the past, when these crises break out, they affect the entire state. So, we are doing the best we can to manage it, to unite the state, to take religion and ethnicity off the table, and let everyone prove his worth or her worth and how much they can contribute to the progress of the state, and not hide behind your ethnicity or religion to get what you don't deserve. Because I think that's really the root of the problem. So, the insecurity in Kaduna has several varieties. The one that is most known is the Southern Kaduna one, which, as I said, has a 40-year history. But right now, that's not even the most serious problem. Because if you get the statistics that we published at the end of early in 2021 about the insecurity incidents in the state, Southern Kaduna was a distant third as far as insecurity is concerned. Northern Kaduna and Central Kaduna were the epicenters of insecurity rather than Southern Kaduna. But it is Southern Kaduna that makes headlines because Southern Kaduna has a mix of Christians and Muslims, and it is very easy to sensationalize and make it look like, Muslims are killing Christians or Christians are killing Muslims, and so on and so forth. But really, it is not as serious as it was some years back. And I think on the whole, Southern Kaduna is pretty quiet these days. We are more worried about the rising cases of banditry across the state that is now creeping into Southern Kaduna. It used to be a phenomenon in Central Kaduna and the north of Kaduna, but now is going everywhere. And this is part of the reason why I went to see Mr. President. And it's not just Kaduna State, but I presented a position paper on behalf of 8 state governors. We met with the president last Thursday, and we promised to bring him our position paper, which I delivered today.
Thank you. You spoke about the textile mills in Kaduna. Is there any hope of bringing those mills back, or is it completely a federal problem? And what do we do about it. And then secondly, there's this issue of religious tension, religious crisis, Christians and Muslims, and so on and so forth, not just in Kaduna, even in Kwara, even some parts of southern Nigeria, and a lot of the north. And more almost intolerance seeming sometimes of Christians in some parts of the north and so on and so forth. What is your opinion, and how do we get to the root of this problem where we can actually appreciate merit and not necessarily coloration or religion or tribe or ethnicity in this country that we're in? Because there's tension everywhere. If you're running for politics, you must have Igbo, a Hausa on the ticket, or Muslim, Christian on the ticket, or Yoruba, something on the ticket. And merit seems to have been totally trashed. What do we do, and how do we get to the bottom of this situation in this Nigeria that we're in?
Well, let me talk about the textile mills first. We have looked at the textile mills in the last 5 years and came to the conclusion that they cannot be revived based on the business model of 1950s and 60s when they were established. What is needed is a complete uprooting of what is there and having new equipment, totally new business model, and so on and so forth. Now, these textile mills are all private, except one. There is one, Kaduna Textile, the very first one, which is owned by the 19 northern states. But frankly, their business models, the machines and so on, they cannot be revived. We have looked at it, we have studied it, and what we thought we should start with Kaduna Textile, which is owned by the 19 northern states, is to start with garmenting first. Remove the machinery and set up a garmenting plant. And while the garmenting plant is developing a brand and markets, we can then develop the cotton production part of the value chain, and then move on to textiles at some point. Textiles consume a lot of water, they consume a lot of electricity, and you cannot be competitive if you run your textile mills on generators. So this was the plan we had as Northern State Governors Forum, and we went to Turkey, got a partner, and we are working on that. I hope before the end of this year, we'll have at least one of the textiles, ex-textiles factories converted into garmenting factories, and then we see that. The other private textiles mills, we have met with them. Funding is available at the Bank of Industry for them to buy new machinery at very concessional rates of interest. But the economics of it, of competing with the Chinese, I think made even the private investors to move away. So we are doing what we can, but the outlook is not very optimistic. I agree with you, Ituah. We have developed a toxic political culture that has no regard for merit. We choose who to support based on sentiments. We don't look at competence and capacity most of the time. And this feeling of my own tribe or my own religion or my own village man or my own townsman must be in office, whether he's competent or not, is pervasive. It's a big problem. But I think that we are getting to a point in Nigeria that people are learning their lessons. And perhaps based on what I've seen in the last 20 years, we are on our path to curing ourselves of that illness.
wherever you see a government or organization functioning, it is because that government or organization has attracted competent people that have the capacity and commitment to deliver. It doesn't matter where these people come from. It doesn't matter what religion they profess. We all believe in one God anyway. Whether you're Muslim or Christian, we believe we're worshiping the same God. So I don't understand why we have these high levels of intolerance. And it's getting worse by the day. As people get more educated and get more connected, unfortunately, they're getting more and more intolerant. It is a paradox of the highest proportions. And in my view, the way to solve it is just to provide any sentiments about religion or ethnicity. Just look at the guy that can get the job done or the girl that can get the job done and, bring them to the table. We have experimented with that in Kaduna State, and it has worked for us. We have people from at least 10 other states of Nigeria in the Kaduna State Executive Council. When we meet in the council, you see at least 10 to 12 non-indigens in the council, because we are looking for people that can get the job done. When we sacked 22,000 incompetent teachers and advertised and employed 25,000, they were from every part of the country. The only state I think that was not represented was Bayelsa State, I think. Because we're looking for good teachers, we don't care where they come from. We just want our children to get the best education. So I think that's the way we should look at our country. That's the way we should choose our leaders. That should be the main criterion. And I believe that if we move away from there, from that political culture of balancing, of rotation, and so on, and focus on who can get the job done, we'll get out of it. It has to be gradual because, I have said this many times and I strongly believe it. After 8 years of Buhari, I think the presidency should go to the South. We can insist that the South produces a competent person that we are comfortable with, but I don't think any northern politician should throw his hat into the ring, because we have not completely got out of that sentiment yet. It will take a bit of time, but we can begin to make progress. And this progress can be made everywhere. It's not just government. In the private sector, we see this. People hire from their own hometowns. You appoint someone MD, he collects people from his state, even in a private company, even in publicly quoted companies. We have seen that. So it's a national problem, and we need to, just move away from it. It will take time, but it can be done.
It's really nice to hear you say this. And I do wish a lot more people would have this kind of advocacy. And I'd like to encourage that we say it a bit more. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit. How do we search for good leadership in Nigeria? That's question number one. And ensure that our political process throws up really competent leadership. Number two, there's this question of Islamization and Fulanization of Nigeria. I'd like to hear your comments on this. And then number three, the issue of Al-Majari, especially in the north, and how do we tackle this problem and ensure that there's some kind of even development, especially in education across the north. I know that fasting, I don't know how much time we have and whether we can have a second round of this on another day. But if you can give us as much time as you can, then we'll push as far as we can and then ask a few more questions, because there are many people on the platform. diverse views, diverse opinions. So get ready for some fireworks. Yeah, because there are many opinions about you, my brother. Some people feel very strongly about you. Some people don't like you at all and think that you've not done a good job, especially with security and things like that in Kaduna State. They consider you to be one of these serious gatekeepers of Nigeria that is also not really pushing hard in the frontier of sounds with regards to security and things like that. So please, if you can.
Okay. Look, let me start from the end. You know, one of the tragedies of Nigeria is that the smartest people keep away from politics and public service. And sometimes when they speak or make, profile opinions about public policy, some of us just laugh because some of their views are frankly quite foolish. We cannot begin to search for political leaders or change the political culture, my brother, unless and until people that are competent, that are smart, that are self-made, that are not looking to make money, all right, join politics and public service. So no matter how much you search, okay, so long as good people keep away from politics and allow the space to those that want to get into government, want to get into politics for their own personal interest, will not go anywhere. We have a political system in which candidates only get to contest elections under the platform of political parties. And certain kinds of people have taken control of the major political parties in Nigeria. So no matter how much you search for a leader, if he has to get onto that platform, you'll have to deal with these people. So this is what I've been saying to all the young people. Stop wasting your time on Twitter and so on and giving opinions and so on and so forth. Get into the political parties. It's tough. You'll meet all kinds of people, but that is the only way that leadership emerges. So take it very seriously. And if you don't get in, you can comment as much as you want. You can wish as much as you want. You can search as much as you want. You can get the best candidate. The system will reject him or reject her. So first order of business before the search for political leaders is participation. I've been preaching that to young people. I've been trying to show them the importance of public service, the importance of politics. If you look at every country in the world that has made progress, their best and brightest are in politics and public service. Boris Johnson went to Oxford. Okay? Obama went to Yale, I think, and Harvard. Those are the kind of people that contest for the presidency, for the Senate. Go and look at the Singapore cabinet. Just Google it and see the kind of education they have had. It's not surprising that Singapore moved from third world to first in one generation, in 30 years. So I think it is important for Nigeria elite to understand that politics is important, public service is important, and you must get in and contribute, particularly if you have made enough money in the private sector. It is time to keep your money, go in, take the low pay of public service, do an honest job, inspire others, and bring in more people like you. That's the only way this country will change. This is my honest opinion. So I don't have any silver bullet for you. Those that are looking for easy answers, there are no easy answers. You have to get in there. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to rub shoulders with people you don't like, people that you think are scumbags, but you have to find a way to meander through them and get to where you want to get because you have a bigger agenda of making your country better. Okay?
Okay.
This is important. This is very important. And it is the key to everything. Now, you've talked about Islamization and Fulanization and so on. Look, Aswe, I am Fulani. Okay, Ituah, sorry. Aswe is the closer brother.
Your brother, the closer brother.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I'm coming to tackle you on that.
Yes. Okay. Look, I am Fulani. I'm a Muslim. Okay. If there is an Islamization agenda in this country, I think I would know about it. Because if you're going to sit down and write the names of 100 Muslims and Fulanis in Nigeria that are of some influence or a voice or even nuisance value, just so that, you know, this El-Rufai man doesn't become a problem to us, I would have been informed of it. There is nothing like that. There is nothing like that. Like every religion, just like Christianity, Islam wants to expand its membership. Christianity wants to expand its membership. I remember Pastor Adeboye telling me when I was Minister of FCT that the goal of the Redeemed Christian Church of God is to have a parish in every street corner. And it's a legitimate aspiration. Of course, I told him Abuja master plan does not allow for that. And he said, well, the master plan is a man-made plan. It can be changed. I said, true. True, it can be changed. Because in the Abuja master plan, we have one church and one mosque in every neighborhood. That's it, not in every street corner. Okay? But it's a legitimate thing. So those that want to expand Islam are pursuing a legitimate cause, so long as they do it in a peaceful and lawful manner. Those that want to expand the frontiers of Christianity are pursuing a legitimate cause, so long as they do it in a lawful and legitimate manner. I don't think that's an issue. But to say that there is an Islamization agenda, to what end? Most Muslims don't care. They are struggling daily to eke out a living. Let us be united more by our poverty and common problems than all these things. Honestly, I would know about it and I would not agree with it. As for Fulanization, that's a new one. Even 2 days ago, a governor was saying that, you know, President Buhari is supporting the Fulanis to take over Nigeria. To do what? Fulanis are nomads. They don't even stay in one place. It is only Fulanis like me that 200 years ago, because of the jihad, my forefathers decided they will stop roaming about with animals and stayed in one place. That's how I got an education. And today I'm governor of Kaduna State. The Fulanis that we are complaining about that are causing problems all over the place don't even stay in one place. They don't occupy land for a long time. They are only interested in the grass. They move on. They come back next year for the grass. That's it. They don't even settle in one place. Hardly. So those that are talking about Fulanization and so on, I just shake my head, you know, and I'm surprised. And as I said, if there is anything like Fulanization, I will be privy to it. And I will fight it. Because I do not believe that this country should be organized around ethnicities and all these things. I don't believe that. If you look at my cycle, if you look at where I work and people that I work with, you know, I don't believe that. Okay.
Okay. So
then Al-Majri.
Al-Majri, yes.
Yeah. Al-Majri is an outdated system of Eastern education that has been in northern Nigeria for over 200 years. Okay. But now we have taken a position at Northern State Governors Forum that we are going to eradicate it because it is out of date. It is not serving even the needs of those that get that education. They memorize the Quran, they know, maybe they learn a bit of Arabic, but they have no skills and they cannot survive in the 21st century. Everyone has run away from facing the problem because of fear of confrontation with clerics. But we have taken a position as Northern State Governors Forum, and we have been, you know, arresting these Al-Majri children and taking them back to their parents so that they attend school. We have dispatched nearly 40,000 here from Kaduna to various states, including countries, some to Niger Republic, some to Mali. And we have received about 11,000 from other states that are indigenous or citizens of Kaduna State. And we've documented them, we've taken them back to their parents, and they are attending school now. There is no alternative to it. We are already backwards in education, and this Almajiri phenomenon is compounding the issue, but we have taken a position as Northern State Governors Forum. Of course, implementation differs from state to state. Kaduna has been more aggressive than other states, but we are addressing the problem. We are concerned about education. We are concerned about skills. We are concerned about the survival of our citizens in the 21st century. And we are working around the clock to do that. Now, yes, I'm fasting, but we can continue. They can bring me something, if you don't mind me eating one or two things while we continue, I have no problem. We can also have a second session. Again, no problem. You are my brother, I can do anything for you.
Thank you very much. I will take you up on that. We'll continue, and then we'll also have a second session, because we may not just have enough time to do everything. I'll take you up on one more thing that you mentioned just now, and that's the issue of the herdsmen. Okay, in 2020-21, what are we doing about young boys who could be Zuckerbergs, who could be Google experts, who could be geniuses, Bill Gates, or even an El-Rufai, still dragging cattle all over the place, and so on and so forth. What are your thoughts, and what is your recommendation on this thing? And if anybody has any questions, please raise up your hands so that we can take a few questions. And we don't mind you munching a few things as we go on. You are my brother. I'll come and breakfast with you, maybe before the fast is over. Okay.
I hope so. I hope so.
I will come.
Look, Ituah, let me tell you a story, which will put things in context before I address your question. In 2015, when I was elected governor, the major problem we faced with the Fulanis, the herders, was cattle rustling. So I called a meeting of the Fulani leaders in Kaduna. They call them Ardos, 72 of them. And I asked them, I said, look, I am Fulani like you. Please tell me, explain to me what happened to the Fulani culture. What happened to Pulaku? Why are Fulanis now armed robbers, cattle rustlers? At that time, kidnapping had not started. Kidnapping was happening elsewhere in Nigeria, but not in our part of the country. The leader of the Ardo said to me, we will only talk to you alone. Everyone should leave. So my entire executive council left. The police, the military, all left. They said they would speak to me alone. When everyone left, they said, look, we don't want to speak to you with other witnesses, because what we are about to tell you can get to the ears of our sons and they will come and kill us. I said, okay. Explain to me what has happened. They said, well, look, we had a way of life. The way of life was centered around cattle rearing and multiplication of the animals and so on. And we bring up our children to rear cattle, sheep, and other animals with the expectation that when we pass on, they will inherit these animals. This is what kept the system going. So they were obedient to us. They learned the trade or the skill of herding cattle, and they wait. Because the Fulani man hardly sells his cattle. He hardly does. He lives off the milk. He will only sell a cow or, when it is exhausted, totally exhausted. They said to me that this was the system. This was the socio-cultural system. But now, if you see a Fulani herdsman with cattle, they probably belong to someone like you, a big man like you, not the Fulanis. I said, why? What happened? They said, well, over time, they got poorer and poorer because the cows that we have in this part of the country produce 1 to 2 liters of milk a day. Understandably, because they walk up and down, whatever they drink evaporates, and so on and so forth. So as time went on, without a lot of investment in modern livestock production, without any attempt to sedentarize these people into ranches and provide them pasture, they became poorer and poorer. That's one thing. Another development was that the original system of setting aside land as grazing reserves, stock routes for the passage of cattle and animals, got overtaken by urban development. And some governments gave away these lands to big men as farmlands. These two things are what led to where we are. So the Fulani boys figure out that their parents are just laborers. They don't own the cattle. They don't own the sheep. They don't own the goats. And these children have no education. They don't get any schooling, neither Islamic nor Western education, no skills, nothing, no future. They said, the Ardos, the Fulani leaders said, this is how, when they started turning against us. Now, add some drugs, alcohol, and other things, and you have a toxic mix. This is how this thing started. They started stealing the cattle because they know that the cattle does not belong to their parents. They belong to big men like me and Ituah. And of course, from there, when we attacked cattle rustling in a very aggressive way, they moved to human rustling, which is kidnapping. So this is the problem we're facing. What is the solution? I think in the short term, there is no solution to using maximum force to just wipe out these bandits. We have to just close our eyes, go to the forests, bomb them, have a blocking force on the ground to arrest or kill anyone coming out. Because the beauty of this whole phenomenon of banditry, at least in the Northwest, is that these guys live in forests where no innocent man lives. So for me, it's very clear and very simple. And I've been advocating that for the past 2.5 years. Let's go to the forests and just get all of them. Those that have chosen to sedentarize can then get an education and so on and so forth. So in the short term, we have no alternative but to use coercive instruments. Okay? But in the medium term, we have to invest in modernizing livestock production and sedentarizing the Fulanis so that they stop going up and down, being a nuisance to everybody. They used to carry sticks, now they carry AK-47s.
Where did they get
How
the
do we
money
do that?
for this?
They sell the cows. You sell one or two cows, you can buy an AK-47. And it brings you more money because if you kidnap Ituah, 20 million, 30 million. Okay. So this is
So you kidnap me, you will rescue me.
Pardon? I will.
If you kidnap me, you will rescue me.
I will send the military. I won't pay ransom.
That's what you said. But you said in another place that you paid ransom to some Boko Haram or something like that, or you paid them.
No.
And then you came back and said you won't pay ransom. Okay, so
no.
Misunderstanding.
Look, yes, let me explain that.
Okay.
In 2011, after the presidential elections, we had massive post-election violence in this state. 800 people were killed in Kaduna State, most of them in southern Kaduna. Some of the victims were transhumans Fulanis that were passing through. Some of them were from Niger Republic, Mali, Senegal, Cameroon. They were just passing through southern Kaduna in April. And this dispute between CPC supporters and sympathizers and PDP supporters and sympathizers broke out. And many of them were killed, their cattle killed, and so on and so forth. So they started coming back. They started organizing. Because Fulanis have a network of sending information. In this place, in this particular village, someone was killed or cattle were seized or whatever. We must come and settle accounts. That is the way Fulanis are. So they started coming back and started attacking communities in southern Kaduna. Late Governor Yakowa was the governor then, when this was at its peak. And when he looked into the problem, he was advised to try to reach these transhumans Fulanis in their countries and offer them compensation. Otherwise, this will not end. Because if you kill a Fulani man, no matter how long it takes, his brother, his sister, his son, his daughter will come to settle the account. It doesn't matter how long it takes, because they will pass on this message. This happened there. We were not able to settle the account. You have to go and settle it. This was what was happening. So Yakowa sent a delegation. It was Yakowa that started that process, sent a delegation going around offering compensation to these people in various countries. And the killings stopped. Sadly, Yakowa died in a helicopter crash. He was succeeded by his deputy, who did not know about this arrangement, and in any case wanted to reverse everything Yakowa did anyway. So that program was stopped. And the killings, of course, started. Because not all those affected by the 2011 post-election violence had been reached and amicably settled. So when we came into office, the first job I did as governor of Kaduna State was call an emergency security council meeting on a Saturday. I was sworn in on Friday. That Friday evening, a community in Sanga local government was attacked. 5 people were killed. So I had to call an emergency security council meeting to understand what was going on. Over time, we discovered from the record that this was what Yakowa was doing and got some peace. So we reassembled the team that Yakowa put together and said, go and continue the outreach you started. Tell them there is a new governor, there is a new government, and we're ready to offer compensation for deaths, for cows, for sheep, whatever. But please, they should stop coming to kill our people. That's what we did. But someone called Luka Biniat, working for Vanguard, reported that I was paying herdsmen to kill people in southern Kaduna. We are prosecuting him. He will end up in prison. And Vanguard fired him for false reporting because he couldn't produce why I said what I said. And we took it up. Vanguard sacked him. And we are prosecuting him for injurious falsehood, incitement, blah, blah, blah. The case is still going on. This is what people were referring to and saying that I said I paid this one. We did not. And for the records, throughout the time that our team was engaging these people, any group they went to and said, look, did you lose anyone in 2011 in Kaduna? Yes. The governor has sent us. We're ready to pay compensation. We're ready to do this. Please don't come and say you settle accounts. They all rejected the money and said, we are forgiven. Since we've been asked, there is an apology, we've forgiven. So we did not pay a penny, but it did not stop the mischief of those that, as you said, I have only, I am binary. People either like me very much or hate me very much. That's That's my life. And I have learned to live with that and move on and do what I have to do. So this is what happened. Okay. Now, 5 years ago, I would think, yes, let us talk to these bandits. But I have had experience here and I have seen what has happened in other states. Those that are saying that the position that we have taken as Kaduna State government, not to negotiate with bandits, not to pay them ransom, is extreme, is this, is that, should go and talk to Zamfara State and Katsina. Because Zamfara and Katsina offered an amnesty to bandits. They paid them money. They should go and ask them what is happening. Entire villages, a week ago, 5 villages were sacked in Zamfara State. All the people slaughtered. This will make the headlines because it's not Southern Kaduna. Katsina, the same thing. In both Zamfara and Katsina, hundreds of students were abducted. How many were abducted in Kaduna? Not in hundreds. You cannot have an honorable agreement with a dishonorable person. These bandits are dishonorable. There is no point having any agreement with them. There is no point thinking you can negotiate with them. There is little honor among thieves. This is our belief. We stand by our position. We know that many people disagree with us. That's fine. But give us your solution that will end this. You can't. Any solution other than the position that we've taken will only make things worse. And sooner or later, it will consume all of us. There will be pain because of the decisions we've taken. 5 of our students in Greenfield University have been shot in cold blood. I'm very pained by that. I have lost 2 children in my life. I know what it is to lose a child. I lost 2. But in my position, I have to put public interest ahead of any sentiment. Those that are not in my position can afford to be sentimental or express ridiculous views and opinions or make joke of this. But I don't sleep well every night until I read the security reports. And before I sleep, I know how many people were kidnapped, how many people were killed in my state. And I know I'll have to stand before God on the day of judgment and prove that I have done my best. This is not a joke. This is serious business. Governance is serious business. And we sit and we debate these policies before we announce them. And we will not change just because people disagree with us, but cannot give us a better solution. If you have a better solution, bring it. If not, please, let us do what we can with what we have.
Okay, my brother, I'll come back to that, but let's just take 2 questions. Then if you have time and it's possible to reconvene next week, Thursday, I can check with your people. We can do that. Otherwise, which other Thursday in the next few weeks will be good. But I have Dr. Muiz Banire on the platform, and he'd like to ask a question. After that, I'll take Ibrahim Pam. I think I'll take Ibrahim Pam. And then for gender sensitivity, I'll take Eyitemi Tairi. If we have these 3 questions, one after the other, I'll allow you to please respond to them, and then we can take a rain check and see if we can continue next week, if it's okay by you. Dr. Banire, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Try and make it very quick. And then after that, I'll take Ibrahim Pam. And then after that, I'll take Eyitemi Tairi. Okay, maybe Banire is not there. Okay, Ibrahim Pam, can you unmute yourself very quickly and ask your question?
Thank you very much, Pastor Ituah. And Mr. Governor, it's good to have you subject to citizen scrutiny, as it should be in a democracy. Let me very quickly speak to the point that I think is most germane. You have said Nigeria is falling apart. Now that's a very, very scary thing to hear from our political leaders. And I think the governor of Niger State said similar things, and several other governors. You've also said today that you cannot speak on behalf of the president. Let me suggest to you, sir, that paragraph 14, section 14 of the Constitution says, the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. I know you're very familiar with the Constitution. I think that with all of the prospects ahead of us, I think that it is extremely important that you, as a very important figure in government, as the governor of a state, but also as an important player, an important stakeholder in the ruling party, should address issues that are extremely important to Nigerians. We need reassurance. We need explanation. We need to understand what is being purposed by government. We are frightened by the fact that the Minister of Defense said to Nigerians, you should defend yourselves. We are extremely troubled by the fact that we have been told that our military forces are overwhelmed. I would not continue with the litany of the things that which I know you are privy to much more than we are. What I require as one of the citizens of Nigeria, on behalf of all of the people who are troubled so much that they cannot sleep, and those who are suffering the extreme trauma of violence in Nigeria, is tell us what is being done. I know that there are matters that are of a security nature. You cannot go into detail, but we need to understand. You have spoken about just one thing before I let it go. You've spoken about the efforts to speak to Fulanis who were attacked in Kaduna and settlements that were done in the tradition. That leads me to the issue of national reconciliation. I think part of the problem, and I was special legal assistant to the Oputa panel, part of the problem that we're dealing with is historical. There have been mass violations of human rights, killings from the Nigerian Civil War where over 3 million people died, none of whom have been recompensed. Their deaths have not been acknowledged. There are families today who continue to grieve. There were massacres in all kinds of places in Asaba. Thereafter, since then, impunity has increased. There have been massacres in Bakalori, in Umuechem, in River State, in Ugep, in Zaki Biam, in Odi. These things complicate the process of national reconciliation, and vengeance belongs to the victims. And just as the Fulanis don't forget, all of these people do not forget. So, Mr. Governor, could you kindly address these issues and tell us what the ruling party and what the president is doing? And if you could also indicate to us when the president will speak to his people. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Let me see if Eitemi would like to take her own question.
I hope Ramsey is breaking his fast. Yeah.
Okay. Eitemi, you want to unmute yourself? Please keep it short. Ibrahim preached a sermon. And I'd like to take your question. And maybe Bimbo Ashiru in place of Dr. Banner, so that we can get His Excellency to respond, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Pastor Ituah. Thank you, Governor El-Rufai, for gracing us with this, with your presence today. I have two questions for you, sir. First of all, you mentioned that Kaduna is different. You are more ethnically diverse than the rest of the North. Can you tell us, please, what steps you are taking to maintain or to respect that diversity? That is my first question. My second question is this. Well, I'll start it with a comment, sir. We are petrified of you. I personally am petrified of you. We are petrified that you are one of the political leaders from a specific ethno-religious grouping who we believe want to dominate the rest of us by force. Sir, what are your thoughts regarding maintaining the secularity of the Nigerian state? And what can you say to reassure us that the way we see you is not the way you are?
Okay, thanks, Timmy. I think he's actually spoken to. I'm sure he won't mind repeating himself. I'm commenting on that again. That is the second point. Otumba Bashir, very quickly, let me hear your comment or your point. Please unmute yourself. Is he there or is gone? Okay, maybe, my dear brother Nasir, can you respond to the first two questions or comments, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure, Ituah. Thank you very much. Mr. Pam wants me to say what's being done about security. All I can tell you is that the president is meeting tomorrow with all the service chiefs, the new service chiefs, including the acting inspector general of police, and the main issue is security, particularly the outbreaks of all kinds of terrorist insurgent groups, separatist groups, and the criminal banditry all across the country. The new service chiefs just got appointed not long ago. They have been given some time to settle down and reorganize their commands. And they have been tasked to come up with a plan to address all these parts of insecurity. And they are meeting tomorrow. Thank you for reminding me of Section 14. I'm quite aware of that. And as I said earlier, I think there has been some improvements in some areas, but we are not where we should be. And the current situation of insecurity in this country is unacceptable, and something's got to be done. Something's got to give. I do hope that when what is necessary is done, it is not the human rights lawyers that will come and start talking, because those that are being kidnapped, those that are being killed also have human rights. It's not just the criminals that have human rights. But I want to assure you that based on what I know, something solid is being done. I get your point about reconciliation. I agree. I think that we need to do that. I lost 2 siblings during the Civil War. And I've never forgotten the Civil War. My favorite elder brother died. He survived the war, but shortly after, died from the trauma of the war. So yeah, we all have issues. It's not just people in Southeast where the war took place. I was jumping into bomb shelters because my school was near Dalet Barracks. So we all went through trauma, and nobody ever talked to us about it. In fact, there appears to be a collective amnesia about the war and all the other traumas that our societies have faced. And yeah, I agree with you. There is a need to have this. In this state, for instance, in Kaduna, we established a peace commission just to facilitate that kind of engagement, for communities to talk to each other, vent, argue, disagree, but at the end, hug each other and agree to live in peace. And it has helped us in a significant way to make Southern Kaduna quieter than it used to be. So I agree with you. Something on the national scale needs to be done. Maybe it will resolve many of these issues. You asked me when President Muhammad Buhari will speak. I don't know. Every president has his own style, has his own ways of doing things. And my boss, that's what I call him, the president that I know, makes up his mind when he wants to speak and when not to. And he has not indicated to me that he's going to speak. Maybe after he meets with the security chiefs tomorrow, he may speak. I don't know. He hasn't told me. And it is not his style. It's not like that. Everyone is different. So that's all I can say. I hope I've answered the questions raised by my elder brother, Ibrahim Pam. Taire is scared of me. I like that. You should be. You should be. Which makes me begin to think, okay, why is she scared of me? Is she doing something wrong? Has she built a house on a sewer line in Abuja or what? You know, because seriously, the only person that has something to fear as far as Nasir El-Rufai is concerned is the person who thinks he's too big to comply with the laws of the land where I am in charge. If you do things by the book, we live and let live. I don't look for anybody's trouble. I mind my own business. But when I took the Quran and swore to uphold the Constitution and the law, it means that anyone that breaks the law has to face the consequences. It is not a personal decision. It is an institutional decision. I don't tolerate nonsense. This is why many people find me to be a very difficult person and so on and so forth. But I want to assure Taire that you have nothing to fear from me. You've asked me what steps are we taking to respect the diversity. The diversity is there, it's a given. We are handling it. What we are trying to do, though, is to take ethnicity off the table. Because what we have found in Kaduna State is that ethnic clothing is used to hide other agendas. And people that don't deserve something use their ethnicity or religion to get it. So we're trying as much as possible to secularize decision-making in the state. One of the first policy decisions we took was to stop sponsoring pilgrimage, whether to Mecca or to Jerusalem. We've stopped. From day one, we said we won't do it. Because we don't see why the state should be sponsoring pilgrims. It's a personal religious decision, you pay for it. It's not very popular, but we did it, okay? We look at every policy that we think does not serve the public interest and we stop it. We're the first state to stop subsidizing fertilizer. We said we wouldn't do it. And the current program of presidential initiative on fertilizer with the Moroccans was actually a program that we started in Kaduna State with the OCP, which became a national program. So we respect that diversity. We try to ensure that mixed ethnic groups live in same, we're building social housing where we are compelling people of different ethnicities to live together. Because if you live together, your children play football together, you are not likely to wake up and kill one another. We're engaged in a lot of this social engineering. So we're respecting the diversity, but we are putting incentives and sanctions to ensure that everybody stays in the corner and focuses on merit, focus on what you can contribute rather than wear a badge of ethnicity or religion and get what you don't deserve. I have heard this story about, Fulanis wanting to dominate the rest of Nigeria. And it's amusing to us because what is being quoted is a fake quotation fabricated by someone that we have traced all the writings of Ahmadu Bello, and I have read all the books he has written. I have read all his biographies. I have not found anywhere where Ahmadu Bello said that he is going to dip the Quran into the sea. I challenge anyone to show me the original source of that quotation. It was fabricated after his death, and it has been circulating as truth. If you understand the Fulani, you'll not be afraid of the Fulani. The Fulani is not interested in you. It's not interested in dominating anyone. Not at all. Just interested in pursuing their livelihood of running around with their cows. And I want to assure you, based on the policies we put in place and some of the things we've started, within one generation, you'll not have them going up and down anymore. In Kaduna State, we took one of our grazing reserves and we're building a huge ranch in Damau in Cubao local government. We're spending 18 billion naira to settle 1,000 Fulani families. We'll give them cows, we'll give them pasture, we'll build a school, we'll build a dam and so on, so that they don't move up and down. If they are sedentarized, they will all be like me. They will go to school, they will have an education, they'll be able to speak to you, Taire, and speak to you logically. And you can engage and you can argue and you can agree or disagree. We have 17 grazing reserves. We've started with one, with Arla of Denmark and UK. We are working with Nestle to do a second one. And if we're able to do that successfully to show the Fulani that there is a way to earn a living by staying in one place, would have solved both a security problem as well as a political and economic problem. That's what we are working on. That's what we are all committed to. The Fulani man is not interested in your land. 72% of Nigeria's land mass is northern Nigeria. They only come down south because they are looking for grass when things are dry over here. And they don't occupy anybody's land permanently. They leave. So if we can get grass for them here in Kaduna, they will never go down to Ondo or Oyo. That is our goal. That is our goal. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is to assume that every Fulani is a Muslim. In Zaria city, my father's hometown, there is a Christian enclave called Wusasa. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Arabi Diko. He was Minister of Mines and Power under Gawan. He's a Fulani and he was a Christian. Ishaya Audu, former Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University. Fulani he's a Christian. My Deputy Chief of Staff Administration in my office is a lady called Saude Amina Atoyebi. She's Fulani, 100% Fulani. But she's a Christian. And she's married to a Yoruba man. And she's my Deputy Chief of Staff. And she's been working with me since 2012. Not all Fulanis are Muslims. Many are Christians. And many of those in the jungle, many of those that carry the AK-47s and engage in these things are pagans. They are neither Muslims nor Christians. They have not even met God. So people like Pastor Ituah have a lot of work ahead of them.
And Pastor
But
Nasir,
Yeah, but you see, and you see, this is why some of us that are Fulanis and are in the political space really feel embittered about the way and manner there is an attempt to dehumanize the Fulani. Bola Ige started it. He was writing columns in the Tribune calling us the Tutsis of Nigeria. I remember Ama Yuagu, myself, and Aswe, Ighodalo, went and confronted him. Pastor Ituah asked Aswe what happened. We went to his house when he was minister and confronted him on that. And I want to remind everyone, once upon a time in this country, armed robbery was the exclusive reserve of a certain ethnic group. But you don't call ex-armed robbers. Once upon a time, every prostitute in Italy was from somewhere, but they are not called by their ethnicity. Once upon a time, every 419 or Yahoo boy was from a particular part of the country, but the ethnicity of that person was never put as an adjective. But Fulani herdsman. Fulanis are not the only herdsmen. There are other ethnicities involved in herding cattle. So we should be very careful about attempt to dehumanize people or a group of people so that they'll be easier to kill. Because that is how the Tutsis was dehumanized in Rwanda, and we all know the consequence. We should be very careful. So to further reassure you, in my own state, which is 70% Muslim, 30% Christian, I think, we are pursuing secular policies because that's what the Constitution of Nigeria requires. And that's what I took the Quran and swore to uphold and enforce. So your question is a moot point, really. It's a moot point. We've had many Fulanis as presidents of Nigeria. They did not try to Islamize anyone. Shagari was president, he is Fulani. Murtala Muhammad was president, he is Fulani. Umar Eradua. I can go on and on. Buhari is not even Fulani. He's 25% Fulani. He is more Hausa and Kanuri than Fulani. But people say he's doing things for Fulani. It's not. Let us use our education to research a little bit, to be a bit factual and logical in drawing our conclusions. Thank you.
My dear brother, thank you very much. We need to let you go so that you can at least break your fast and get on with other matters of the states. There are many, many burning questions. A lot of people want to ask questions, and perhaps they feel that you would have quite a few of the answers. I also have one or two questions. One or two I'll take with you personally when we're able to meet, and one or two I'll take on the platform. And I hope we can reconvene next Thursday at 5 o'clock. Sure. Okay, Thursday, sure. 5 o'clock. Okay, so we'll reconvene next Thursday at 5 o'clock. I want to thank all your staff. Saudi that you mentioned, she's been fantastic. And your PAs and everything for putting this together. And of course, Aswerime for making this happen. Thank you very much, my brother from another mother. There's a personal question I'm going to ask you next Thursday, but we'll see when we see. Greet my sisters for me, and God bless you.
I will.
And
God bless you too, Pastor Ituah.
God bless
you. And thank you everyone for being patient with me and tolerating. See you on Thursday.
Thank you. See you on Thursday. God bless you.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you all for being on the platform today. I think it's been quite an insightful discussion. I know a lot of people had questions and things like that. We don't have enough time. So in fact, this is about the longest session we've had. So we'll be back next week, 5 o'clock. Maybe next week we'll take more questions and I'll do less of the talking. I see my friend Beyuze, all the way from Maryland. Beyuz Baba. You didn't send me a card for my 60th, and I've been sending you Al Jaro. My uncle Ephraim Faloge, God bless you. Thank you for being there. Buy your grateful care for me. Tell her I love her. Bimbo, we'll take your question next week by God's grace. I tried to get you to unmute, but something happened. Olalere, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Yinka, God bless you. See you next week.